Doctors play a pivotal role in Florida workers' compensation cases. I'm Brian Tadros with the Law Office of Brian D. Tadros. Let's get into exactly what we mean by that. So, in a Florida workers' compensation case, a doctor is going to render opinions about what medical conditions you have, whether those conditions were caused by your accident, whether you need treatment, and what your work status is. And when we talk about work status, a doctor is going to say either you can go back to a normal job and work full duty, you can work but have certain restrictions, like you can't lift over a certain amount, or you can't bend, or you can't stoop, or they're going to say that you can't work at all and you just need to stay home. All of those opinions are opinions that determine whether you get either medical benefits or what we call indemnity benefits, which are the lost wage benefits that you get in workers' comp. But the point I'm making here is everything that you can get under the workers' comp law in Florida stems from what a doctor says. So it's important to understand that in a Florida workers' compensation case, the employer's workers' compensation insurance company gets to pick all of the doctors in your case. Usually when somebody goes to a doctor, initially it's a walk-in clinic. They pick that clinic. If they recommend treatment for you, whether it's therapy or an MRI, or they refer you to another doctor like an orthopedist, the insurance company then gets to pick that doctor. If you're dissatisfied with the opinion of that doctor, there's a couple different things that you can consider doing, and in certain cases, one may be preferred over another, but having a lawyer involved really can help you decide which route to go, if any, to explore new medical opinions, because that new medical opinion is going to be necessary to change the potential outcome of your case. And so one of the things that you can potentially do is ask for what we call a one-time change in treating physicians, informally a second opinion, if you will, but it's called a one-time change. They even get to pick that doctor as long as they tell you who the doctor is going to be within 5 days of a written request for that change. So if you want to use your one-time change, formally you need to put a written request into the insurance company, usually via email to the insurance adjuster, and all they have to do is tell you it's going to be Dr. ABC. They don't have to have an appointment set. They don't have to have you seen by a doctor within 5 days. They just have to tell you who the doctor is going to be within 5 days. You also have what's called an independent medical evaluation, or an IME, available. There's a one-time visit with a doctor of your choice, but it's not for treatment. That's important to understand. This is simply for you to be evaluated by a doctor, for them to review your medical records, do a physical exam, and render a report providing opinions about what they think about your case. All the things I mentioned before, what injuries you may or may not have, whether they were caused by your accident, what kind of treatment, if any, that you need, and what your work status is. And the purpose of that IME is so that if you want to explore a different medical opinion, once you have a different medical opinion, you can then litigate potential entitlement to benefits that might flow from that medical opinion. The last thing that really is an option in a case where you might have a difference of opinion or concern about an opinion from a doctor is going and conferencing with a doctor. Having a lawyer involved for that purpose is going to be hugely impactful. That lawyer is going to have a familiarity with how the Florida workers' compensation law applies to medical opinions, what the standards are, what the questions are you need to ask that doctor to find out their opinion. Unfortunately, I can't tell you that conferencing with a doctor is going to result in a change of opinion necessarily, but you can at least learn their specific opinion that might not be in the four corners of their written report, so that you are empowered with the information to know where they stand on any specific issue that might alter the outcome of your case. In a nutshell, everything in Florida workers' compensation cases is driven by what doctors say, and it's important to have a lawyer involved so they can guide you through that process, make sure that you understand it, and what your options are if you need to explore a different opinion.